Greetings, my daughter's fabulous sunroom. We have a lot to talk about today, mainly tomorrow's reveal that we're all been waiting for, the new documentary coming out about the Duggars. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Tinkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering. Wrote it every single day for like 10 years. I have my own book coming up this year called With Strange Fire. I don't have a publisher, so it's going to be self-published. And it's about my time in the Quiverful movement and a church from there. Hit like, subscribe, click the bell notifications, and don't be ugly to anybody, and don't chase anybody down that I talk about in the videos. Don't go real life. Okay, so this documentary is coming out tomorrow called Happy Shiny People. It's coming out on Amazon Prime. I can't wait to see it. Supposedly it's a series. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 pieces, but there's several different ones. And today I saw, it may have been released last night, I don't know, but they talked about a new book upcoming, a new Duggar daughter book. Now we saw Ginger Duggar Volo and her book, where she promoted the theology of one John MacArthur of Grace Community Church, who I can't stand for a variety of reasons. He had something to do with my old pastor, my last church, and so I'm not a big fan of his. I'm not a fan at all. And his theology is pretty blaming, shaming. He calls it soft complementarianism, but I think it's more hardcore whether he wants to believe it or not. So anyway, Jill Duggar Dillard, married to Derek Dillard, he who is now a lawyer. They live in, I think, Oklahoma now. It was announced that Jill is coming out with a tell-all book called Counting the Cost. Now, how tell-all it'll be, I don't know. I know she's been in therapy. I know there's been a lot of changes going on with her and Derek, and they are apparently on the outs with Jim Bob. So I was really surprised. Now, I wasn't surprised to learn that there is going to be a ghostwriter, Craig Berlaze. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name. And they're saying on Amazon, I've already ordered it, pre-ordered my copy. The truth about the Duggars, a traditional Christian family that captivated the nation on their TLC hit show, 19 Kids and Counting. Well, I always said, okay, that the first Duggar child that wrote the tell-all book was the one that was going to make the series bank. And I still stand by that. I like Jill. I've always liked Jill, even when she was still part of their whole thing, because Jill always seemed like she was not as hard and jaded as Jessa, or as wanting to run off to someplace with Walmart as Ginger was. So of all the daughters, she was the one that I really liked the most. And seeing her making her journey out of Fundytown, out away from the IBLP, it's been good. Jill, I've been on that path. I've been out of this theology, and it's not easy. Therapy helps, I'm going to say that. So anybody watching this that wants to get out, therapy. My husband's sitting over there, and he's not a big fan of therapy, but I think if you're a woman and you're going through this stuff and you're trying to pull out this nonsense out of your brain, that therapy is super helpful.
Whatever works for you, yeah.
Yeah, so it worked. For me, it worked a lot, helped. So our book is Counting the Cost, and I don't know how tell-all it's going to be. I'm thinking it probably won't be as tell-all as what it probably needs to be. But here's the thing. The first kid that comes out as completely atheist is going to be the one that's going to be telling all the stuff. But Ginger's going to make a bent. I mean Jill, not Ginger. What am I saying? You go, Jill. We love you. We hope the best for you coming out. Hope you and Derek can manage to get out together. Because that's the tricky bit. That, to me, is the trickiest thing about leaving these kinds of religions, is keeping your marriage together and staying together. I've seen so many times where one spouse or the other deconverts, the other one stays in, and there's a divorce. Those of us that manage to keep it together, we're kind of the rare bird of the whole thing. So that's what I hope for you, Jill. Okay, so I have to also address something that somebody keeps asking me. Well, not somebody. I keep getting messages about it. That YouTuber we don't talk about, we try not ever talk about, apparently said that Jim Bob Duggar is planting false information with the press to manipulate the narrative yet again, and right before their Shiny Happy People documentary comes out, and blaming Josh and Michelle for everything. I don't doubt that's true one bit, because what I know of Jim Bob Duggar and some of the stupid crap I've seen him pull through the years, Jim Bob Duggar thinks he's a Svengali of spin, that he can manipulate any narrative with his words. But in reality, he's more like the Swinguli of spin, kind of goofy and not that successful at manipulating the narrative. So I don't doubt that's a true thing. But here's where it gets funny. This person is claiming this came from unnamed Duggar insiders. And sure enough, there are a ton of those people around. And whether or not they actually are insiders, who knows? I don't know. I can never determine when they contact me if they're really insiders or not, or they're just disgruntled Duggar fans, or maybe disgruntled people from Springdale, Arkansas. And that happens too sometimes. I'll hear from somebody local who will say, oh, blah, 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 Jim Bob. Jim Bob did X, Y, and Z. He may have done X, Y, and Z, but that's really not a good look to be beating up on everybody from your part of the world because you got one axe to grind with one guy who was on TV. And I'm kind of curious to see what happens next. That's going to be the interesting thing to me. Not so much a documentary, because it's going to confirm everything we all ever knew about the IBLP and how this was all handled. And the fact that Josh was excused and had all kinds of stuff going on that they approved of. Way back in my NLQ days, I put together a timeline of what happened with Josh, how much TLC had to have known because they were there filming when Josh was suing DHS over some of this, over his situation with his sisters. I think they knew. TLC, I believe they knew, and they covered it up. And if that's the case, they're as criminally liable as Jim Bob and Michelle are for the cover-up that they had happen over what happened to their daughters. One of the hardest things to watch on television about this whole thing was when Megyn Kelly of Fox News interviewed Jim Bob and Michelle over the Josh exposure. And first of all, Jim Bob and Michelle lied their ass off. All you have to do is look at my timeline that I put together, and it shows you how they lied about what they said and did. And the other part that was so awful was when they brought poor Jill Duggar Dillard, and her sister, Jessa Duggar Seawald, on there to excuse what Jim Bob did. Jill cried the entire time, and it was just awful. My heart broke for her then. It breaks for her now that her family used her. Her father used her to make money. I'm hoping that between that and some of the other things we've seen that are so awful with these reality TV families, that someone somewhere makes it illegal to use kids for ratings and dollars in reality TV, because they're not protecting the children. They're exposing them to all sorts of things. that no child has any business, including the crazy of the masses. You and I know all about that, unfortunately. Okay, I am going to go. I have some fundamentalist Christians at Spank who are busy telling me that I'm not scriptural, I have no scriptural basis, and that just makes me laugh. Laugh, 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 because I never claimed to be an expert on scripture. I've never claimed to have any kind of scriptural authority or any of that. I stick with the words of Jesus. The other stuff, I pretty much try to ignore it because I don't think a lot of it lines up with the words of Jesus. Okay, I'm going to go now. Love you guys. Have a great day. It's sunny here. I'm getting ready to hang clothes on the line. I'll see you later.